Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, all our distinguished guests, and also delegates and participants who's joining us through digital platform today. Welcome to the second talk show of the second pre-summit of Y20 Indonesia 2022 Digital Transformation. Back with me again, Nitya Anissa, as your host today. I'm so honored to be here. And on behalf of Y20 and organizing committee, allow me to convey our sincere gratitude to all of you who are attended today's event virtually. Ladies and gentlemen, as you're joining us today virtually, yesterday, we had an amazing set of events in day one of the second pre-summit of Y20 Indonesia 2022. Starting from hearing the thought from the local youth participants from the central Indonesia, and also opening ceremony with the national and local governments, and fruitful discussions from the talk show about reaping the benefits of digital transformation, raising youth digital financial awareness, which has given us intriguing insights about the vital issues that will be raised in Y20 Summit. So today, we will further listen to some insights that are going to be just as engaging as the first talk show. As the speaker is going to talk around promoting youth inclusion and innovation in digital governance, allow me to start today's talk show by welcoming our moderator for today, Mr. Tommy Aditya, Indonesian delegate to Y20 Saudi Arabia 2020. Good evening, Mr. Tommy Aditya. Can I call you Mr. Tommy?
Yeah, just call my name. Just call me Tommy. Hi, good evening.
Okay, I'm just gonna call you Tommy. Well, Tommy, good evening from Lombok. Good morning to you. How's Massachusetts today, this morning?
The weather is great. It's getting spring here. So yeah, all the sunlights, all the flowers are blooming. So I'm just like excited that the winter is over. But I really miss Indonesia, you know? And with all the sun that we have, I was like, I miss to be back home.
Of course. So I'm going to send you greetings from Indonesia then. So, but we're talking about today's, this is the second talk show. I think it's going to be as intriguing as the first talk show. What can we expect from today's topic? I mean, we're very excited for today's topic. It's going to be, we have a great lineup of speakers. What do you think of it?
Yeah. So the topic of digital governance is actually something that is very new. And we wouldn't suspect this to be happening or like to be discussed in the political, in the youth lenses. So I think I'm very excited to hear like what are the opportunities that youths can do to involve with the governance. We know that cybersecurity has become an issue. And then I know that a lot of fintechs are, not only fintechs, but like a lot of like government-led digital innovations also there. And like there are a lot of youths involved in this movement. I think in Bandung, we have like the West Java governance, and in the education of ministry right now, we have the water technology. So a lot of initiatives there, and like a lot of youths are involved. So I'm just very curious and excited. What are the trends and what are the innovations that we can bring as a youth here?
I bet you're very excited. I think all the delegates are also excited to hear that the second talk show is going to, push some policy making and also advocate to youth inclusion. I cannot wait to hear more about the speakers and also about the insights that you're going to present today. So without further ado, Tommy, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Lizzie.
You're welcome.
And yeah. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and a warm welcome to all of you who are joining us in the second Y20 talk show on promoting youth inclusion and innovation in digital governance. As mentioned, I am Tommy Aditya. I was the Indonesian delegate to Y20 Saudi Arabia in 2020, and I will be moderating this panel tonight. So, to begin with, we will have a series of panels with very diverse and interesting backgrounds, not only from Indonesia, but also globally as well. However, to begin with, we would like to actually welcome and invite Ibu Mutia Fiada Hafid. And Ibu Mutia Fiada Hafid is our keynote speaker. She is the chair of the first commission of the House of Representatives, which handles a variety of issues ranging from defense, international relations, communication and informatics, and intelligence. In short, she is a superwoman. And prior to her political career, Ibu Mutia was a journalist who covered national and international news. Ibu Mutia has interviewed many national and international political figures, and she also known as the new anchors in one of Indonesia's well-known TV channel. And of course, Ibu Mutia, you are a young woman figure in Indonesian politics that has a strong influence in shaping our national policies. I believe the delegates cannot wait to hear from you. So, Ibu Mutia, without further ado, the time and screen is yours to deliver your keynote speech.
Thank you, Tommy. That's very kind words of you, and very, as Tommy said, very good morning, and also good evening to everybody. Well, from Jakarta, it's a good evening to everybody everywhere, and also in Lombok, especially the delegates coming from G20 countries that are joining us today. As mentioned earlier, what Tommy said, that Indonesia being holding the presidency for this year G20, would really like to raise issues not only for the elites but also for the young generation. And I salute the Y20 organizing committee, which by creating this forum, it gives the way, the path for the young generations to also be included with the G20 and also can give their thoughts, their inputs to the three main topics in G20, especially specifically on the digital economy. And so let me just start my keynote speech by first giving us all what you may have already been very familiar with this, but let me just show us all here about the fact that we are facing today. You could help me with my presentation, Tommy. The topic on my keynote is on promoting youth inclusion and innovation and digital governance through understanding of digital transformation. And I would like on my first slide showing the data report, the platform in which 4.95 billion people around the world use the internet in January 2022. The first page, equivalent to 62.5% of the world's total population. So it is indeed an increasing number, as we all know from the G20 countries. And social media use continues to grow as well, with global users reaching 4.62 billion in January 2020, and that is equal to 58.4% of all the people on Earth. And the number of social media users has increased by 10.1% over the past 12 months only, with 424 million new users joined social media between January 2021 and January 2022, equating to growth of more than 1.1 million new users every day. And we'll see, according to the survey by the IQ, the that less than 40% of individuals in 40% of the countries surveyed reported having carried out an activity which requires basic digital skills in the last 3 months. Young people are often considered digital native, but at the same time, the majority of them may not actually possess sufficient job relevant digital skills to fill a vacancy. And we are talking about the world, not only G20 countries. This may not be the character of the G20 countries, but around the world, we want all the young generation to also possess sufficient job relevant digital skills to fill the vacancies from a digital economy. According to a joint effort by UNICEF and the ITU, globally, some 2.2 billion children and young people aged 25 years or less do not have access to an internet connection at home. Access varies widely depending on countries' relative wealth. In high-income countries, 87% of children and young people have internet connection at home, but in low-income countries, it's a big gap of just 6% who does have internet access. And on to the next page, why we think young people should be open to possibilities for digital transformation. Young people always associated with digital natives, they have to be resilient to change. Digital transformation is the integration of digital technology into all areas. We know business, fundamentally changing how people operate and deliver value to customers. And this also means young people have to be resilient in any cultural change caused by digital transformation. For them to remain strong, for them to survive, it requires a to continually challenge the status quo, do several experiments, and not afraid of failure, which is, I think that not
Okay, we have some connection problem with Ibu Mutia, but we will be back to hear her keynote speech again soon once she's returning. So we have heard a little bit from Ibu Mutia about how the internet aspects have actually played a pivotal role as well. I think one key aspect that I learned is 40% of individuals in 40% countries carry out the basic digital skills needed. So there are a lot of opportunities to carry on more of the digital skills. Hi, Ibu Mutia. So yeah, I think we got you off, but please return to your speech. Oh, your committee, if we can unmute Ibu Mutia and let her carry on with her keynote speech.
Okay, I'm back, Tommy.
Hi. Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. And
okay. So I was saying there are two phenomena that we see as a result of the rising of digital economy that should be should be watched closely by the young generation, because we believe that it will benefit them a lot. Which is, first phenomenon is digital transformation that involves sharing economy for young people. As we know, the sharing economy is on the next page. Is the simplest business model that appears from the growth of sharing digitally driven technology, and the young ones favor this kind of business. Also, sharing economy is an economic model that defines its activity as peer-to-peer. Big data help young people to interact and collaborate more with people, to meet one another in similar type of business. And sharing economy brings the fresh air to the digitally led transformation of economic activity. So, can I have my slide back? The examples of sharing economy. Yeah, it's the next page, please. Okay, now the next one. So the examples of the sharing of economy, as we all are familiar with, is there are some examples like co-working space, car sharing, property sharing, and tool sharing. So on the next page, we see the second phenomenon, which is the rising of startups. Young entrepreneurs are powering up Southeast Asia's largest economy as it moves toward a post-pandemic recovery. Next to Singapore, Indonesia has the greatest number of unicorn startups valued over $1 billion in the region. On the next slide, please. And according to Indonesia's Statistics Board in 2021, there are more than 70% of Indonesian population being categorized as productive, meaning human resources to startups in Indonesia is not a big issue. Well, digital literacy is, but human resources is not really an issue because we have a big amount, a big percentage of young productive people in our census. COVID-19 pandemic has been a turning point to digital transformation and conventional dismissal leads to a more digitally driven way of living. And so on the next page, we see the challenge for young generation being that next year, Bloomberg states that Generation Z is on the cusp of outnumbering millennials, and that means around 61 million of young people in this group, and the world is waiting for their contribution. So really the young generation should contribute to the shaping up of our digital world and digital economy of the world in the future. We also see, according to IMD World Digital Competitiveness Report, that a different digital technology will decide on how competitive the country will play its role in world digital economy. Young people have to take their roles in digital technology, and this is not only tackle ICT sector alone, but it tackle beyond, including effective regulation and good digital infrastructure building. And we'll see some government initiative. We'll start with Indonesia on the next page, but I'm sure from the ministry will also add to my notes on what we have done in Indonesia. First, we'll look at Indonesia's job creation law to support the growth of digital economy. The existence of the job creation law is expected to create an economic climate that is adaptive to the current industry, because it will improve digital infrastructure, the quality of human resources, and simplify the regulations for the needs of the digital era. So we have this jobs creation law released sometime last year, and we are now focusing on how to implement the law to also help boost the digital economy. And on the next slide, we see the law of the Republic of Indonesia, number 11 of 2022, on job creation that specifically say creating better digital economy. The law plays an important role in transforming economic activities to be more adaptive in digital era, and so that economic activities can be carried out more inclusive, especially to entrepreneurs, both small and large scale. And here, we're trying to look next at some protection towards regulation. For example, digital taxes in several countries. We'll see an example in India, Austria, France, and Spain, in which we noticed that the government of India has expanded the range of imposition of digital tax or equalization levy by 2% from April 1st, 2020. And then we'll see in Austria, which has set a digital tax of 5% on the turnover of advertising services provided by service providers since January 2020. And in France, imposes a digital service tax of 3%. And in Spain, we see in 2020 February, the government of Spain has approved the collection of a digital tax of 3%. And now we'll have a look at Indonesia on the next slide on protection to digital locals business in Indonesia. We issue taxing regulation on digital services. It's on regulation number 48 of PMK 03/2020, which imposes a 10% value-added tax on digital services on non-resident companies starting July 1st, 2020. Through this regulation, the government hopes to free from the tax proceeds of the country's multi-billion-dollar digital economy. Intangible goods and services subject to VAT include e-books, apps, games, software, movies, and music, among others. Well, this helps battle the struggle caused by COVID-19 pandemic. Indonesia's digital economy is estimated to be valued at $130 billion by 2025, and according to a study by Google, Temasek and Bain & Company. That's with what some Indonesia and other countries have done with regulations on digital economy, and what can we do as young generations, as young parliamentarians. Digital literacy among the youth, first to combat the negative aspect of education digitally because of the fast and dynamic presence of information and communication tech, or ICT. Digital literacy is one of 6 types of literacy skills recommended by the World Economic Forum to address the challenges of the global generations in the 21st century. And digital literacy will create young people with critical, creative mindset and build the broad sense to conquer the development of the current era. So this is one of the what do you call that, a big homework for us in Indonesia. We have built the infrastructure, and next step is also to build the literacy among the people, so people are more digital literate, so we can really use the benefit of the digital world, especially for the young generations. On this page, we see according to UNESCO, the concept of digital literacy becomes an important stamp to showcase the young's ability of understanding information, communication, and technology in the digital era. And being digitally literate means able to process various information, able to understand messages, and communicate effectively with our fellow friends. On to the next slide. Digital development with no governance.
Maybe 1 minute left for your intervention. Thank you.
Okay. So yes, what can we do in terms of regulations? Digital development with no governance is ineffective, so we really believe that regulations, a good regulation should be imposed on countries to make digital development can flourish more. On the next slide, which is hopefully the last slide, in Indonesia, One Data Indonesia or Satu Data Indonesia regulation is expected to promote interoperability of data among government and in society. And we have a law number 14, year 2008, somehow supports the need of openness towards information in digital era. The law on public information disclosure becomes the root for fulfilling the basic needs of being informed to every person to develop their personality as well as their social environment, and is a significant part of the national security. So I think that's to sum up for me.
Yep. Wow, Ibu Mutia, you covered everything, and we have heard ranging from digital skills, big data, sharing economy, startups, Gen Z and startups, digital literacy, and we have, I think like all the panelists now will be confused what to talk about. You covered all of the aspects.
You know, as a parliament, you have to speak on a broader spectrum, and then maybe from the ministry can make it more detailed.
Yeah, and one thing that I kind of noticed is that like a lot of effective regulations and good digital infrastructure are actually being built, and like there are a lot of good laws, the initiative of job creation law, one data law, public information disclosure. But maybe for young entrepreneurs, the digital taxes might be like something that we might, confused about. But we are happy with all the progresses of the regulations. And thank you again, Bu Mutia, for your keynote speech. And
thank you.
Yeah, please give like a round of applause to Ibu Mutia. Thank you, Ibu.
Thank you.
Next, we just heard like a keynote speech from Ibu Mutia Hafid. She stressed the pivotal role of youths in driving digital transformation, and youths have a lot of potential here to scale this transformation. But we know that youths are still disproportionately affected, especially the ones lacking with digital skills, literacy, and access to infrastructure. As mentioned as well, there are a lot of investment and policy reforms have been targeted into this domain, such as the data protection regulations, the GDPR in the EU, the data protection bill in Indonesia, to improve the governance of the digital ecosystem. But these are not enough. In the G20 context, youths are still facing at least digital divide and connectivity issues. And based on the Y20 Indonesia survey, we get that 61% of youths are actually still lacking access to the internet. And there's another problem about trust, security, data privacy, and as well as the digital literacy and meaningful labor participation in the digital economy. And so right now we have the main question, which will be the heart of our today's talk show, is how we can empower youth to create more innovation in shaping the digital governance. There are a lot of opportunities to be explored in infrastructure, literacy, services, privacy, and security. However, what are the ideal policies that can spur the innovation in digital governance? To answer this question, and of course your questions, delegates, our panelists will present views from both public and private sectors with their experiences in their respective fields. However, let me remind you again that this talk show is actually all about you, the delegates, to have direct discussion with the panelists. So as you will listen to their presentation later on, you may think of burning questions that you would like to ask to them. Before that, I want to make it more interactive with the participants here. There is one question that I would like to ask all of the participants. So if you could type one phrase about digital governance, what would it be? If you could type just one phrase about digital governance, what would it be? I will let you type it first, and on the count of 3, you can press enter to the chat box here so we can see what is your thoughts about digital governance. 1, 2, and 3. And yep, I let you see. And like there, if people want to give insights, please do give insights. And I will let the panelists now to have a few seconds to read some of the insights if they're there. And I will introduce our amazing set of panels to you now. So our first panelist is actually Ibu Leslie Goh. She is the Senior Technology Advisor from the World Bank. Ibu Leslie Goh is a Senior Technology Advisor, former Chief Technology Officer at the World Bank Group. She brings extensive experiences advising policymakers on the regulatory impact from digital technologies such as AI, blockchain, Internet of Things, and 5G, cloud and edge computing, and many others. From her experience in academic, public, and private sectors such as Singapore GovTech and NUS Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy, she developed strategic partnership to support sustainable development goals, empowering youth to leverage data and technology innovations in emerging markets in fintech, agtech, and digital government. And then we welcome our second panelist, Bapak Setiaji. He is the Chief of Digital Transformation. Oh, I think I see your picture. Hi, I would like to say hi first to Ibu Leslie. Hi, Ibu Leslie.
Hello.
Oh, yes.
Selamat malam.
Malam, Ibu. Okay, let us move on to second panelist. Our second panelist is Pak Setiaji. He is the Chief of Digital Transformation Office at the Ministry of Health of the Republic of Indonesia. Selamat malam, Pak Setiaji.
Ya, selamat malam. Good evening.
Good evening. Yeah, Pak Setiaji is an expert staff of the Ministry of Health in Indonesia. He has 8 years of experience in smart city development and digital transformation in the government of Indonesia, ranging from Jakarta to West Java. He always plays an essential role in providing practical solutions to improve public services. He is recognized as a digital leader globally and have received top CIO on Digital Information Award, IT Works 2021, and the World CIO 200 Awards Southeast Asia edition. And thank you for having you here, Pak Setiaji. And our third panelist is Mr. Angus Berry. He is the Digital Product Manager, Government Digital Service, United Kingdom. Hi, Angus.
Hi.
Good morning there.
Morning.
Good morning. And Angus is the UK civil servant specializing in digital transformation of the public sector, procurement reform, and anti-corruption. He worked with the Indonesian government for 2 years and continues to learn Bahasa Indonesia. Oh, apa kabar, Pak Angus? And Angus is currently researching a part-time PhD at Oxford University on money laundering and beneficial ownership policy. Glad to have you here, Pak Angus. And last but not least, our fourth panelist is Bapak Monifasius Wahyu Pujanto. He is the Director of Informatics Empowerment, Ministry of Communication and Informatics of the Republic of Indonesia. Hai Pak Moni, selamat malam. Yeah, we can hear
Okay,
you. If you
good
can
evening,
read your
Tommy.
lips.
Sorry,
Good
just
evening.
unmute.
Yeah, so Bapak
Okay, good.
Boni has served in
Yes.
his position since 2021, and prior to his current role at the ComInfo, he is actually worked at the Creative Economy Agency, Ministry of Tourism, and Creative Economy from 2015 to 2021. In relation to the G20 Forum, he is the man. Pak Boni served as the deputy head of the Digital Economy Working Group. So there are a lot of questions and insights that we want to hear from you from the G20 discussion later on. So those are our 4 great panelists, and we will hear a lot of insightful insights from them. But first thing first, I would like to welcome Ibu Leslie. Ibu Leslie, we want to hear from you about the global trends of digital transformation, because you have observed how the practices worldwide at the World Bank. And as your role as the senior technology advisor as well, I'm pretty sure your insights will be very helpful to the delegates. So Ibu Leslie, the screen is yours.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity. What an honor to be here, and excited to see how the young leaders are organizing this event. Really delighted to share some of my observations around the global trends. Now, one thing for sure is that COVID accelerated the digital transformation across all sectors in the last couple of years. And in the digital business needs models such as fintech, e-commerce platform, and online marketplaces have become the cornerstone of economy out of sheer necessity since 2020. And then within weeks, many cities went into the online mode and transition into contactless transactions. And the importance of video conference like what we're doing today is so critical as part of our new way of working, and hopefully transition into the hybrid world where there's more physical presence and in-person meetings. Now, digital transformation also involves culture change. And to build that culture foundation it's not just about technology, it's about the digital culture and building a trust framework. The World Economic Forum had a report on digital culture, the driving force of digital transformation, that frames it that organization with a strong digital culture use digital tools and data-powered insights to drive decisions and user-centricity while innovating and collaborating across the entire organization. And when implemented purposefully, digital culture can drive sustainable action and create value for all stakeholders. That means that workforce of the future will need to step up in both the hard skills and the soft skills to prepare for the new digital economy. And there are a few key trends that really requires the kind of, that bring about these areas of change. For example, the platform economy. GoTo, congratulations, in Indonesia, is a great ecosystem building using marketplace and super apps to connect value chain players together with the use of data and digital technology. And data is at the heart of the digital transformation, better insights for the users, and also for the business to drive greater efficiency. And in terms of opportunities and how it is affecting the lives of the people in emerging markets, let's go deeper into a few key sectors or areas that I've been working on. One is public sector. Now, Singapore, if you look at the digital transformation journey since 1980s, now evolving into the smart nation, and providing better services for the citizens and business owners. And that has been significant over the years. And 95% of all transactions with the government are all digital from end to end. Rwanda launched the Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution in partnership with the World Economic Forum. The vision of the center is to shape the trajectory of Rwanda's digital transformation through progressive technology, governance that is agile and human-centered, in order to respond to the most pressing challenges of the country and for the broader benefit of Africa, as they work to create more intelligent and connected and resilient societies that is prioritized around data governance as a foundational enabler for growth. And the next one is Togo, a major digital initiative, which includes the arrival of the subsea internet cable running from Portugal to South Africa, as its first landing in Africa, the subsea cable will have a direct impact on the internet connectivity in Togo, resulting in high-speed, improved and affordable internet access for millions of people in Togo and West Africa region. Now, in the private sector, you see also fintech evolving beyond digital payment and lending into digital banks and embedded finance. Now, for those who may not know, embedded finance is non-financial digital platform such as Apple, Google, Amazon, Alibaba, and Financial, offering financial services to their B2B merchants and B2C end customers. And then lastly, an example from agriculture, the new entrance of AgTech to disrupt the middleman via e-commerce platforms such as Pinduoduo in China, connecting 860 million consumers to 16 million farmers. So now, in the areas of digital agriculture, it is the use of digital technology such as mobile, internet connectivity, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, cloud computing, and Internet of Things and blockchain as just a few examples that create new business model that can help the agriculture yields of the smallholder farmer and ultimately benefiting the whole food system at large. So I would say that out of all these examples, you will notice one thing for sure, the cultural mindset shift involving the next generation of young leaders like you to become the change makers for the future.
Thank you so much for the insightful insights, Leslie. You covered a lot about the cultural change and like some examples, Indonesia with its platform economy, Singapore with its governance, and like digital infrastructure in Togo, and in China as well with the AgTech. And I think like one burning question that I have, hearing stories and examples worldwide, there are a lot of aspects of digital governance and digital transformations. And perhaps because of that foreign interpretation as well, like the delegates here will have like a sort of perspectives from their background for their countries about what actually digital transformation is. So from your global point of view, what is actually digital transformation that is fitted in the G20 context? What is it? What is the definition of that?
Well, from the G20 context, I would say the areas of digital transformation affects all aspects of a person's individual, business, and government and international organizations. I would therefore highlight some of the key elements around the use of data to build trust, and not just from the assets of creating opportunities for all aspects of our lives, but also to make sure that there is the trust framework that needs to be in place in order to create a greater functioning of accountability and efficiency in the system. So I think that is just the most important aspect of it.
And I think like just one last follow-up question to that, you've been data to build trust. And how can youths, especially the delegates here, actually play a significant role in shaping that? Or like, how do you think we can contribute more?
Well, as much as I talk about all the opportunity, there's also some of the challenges that needs to be in place and that we need to address. There are a lot about data governance that the youth could really be part of to look into the unintended consequence of misuse and abuse of data, which is now ubiquitous and growing exponentially. With the increasing data collections and use comes the increasing risk of data breaches. Today, the data breach is no longer an if, but a when. An organization needs to minimally put in place basic data protection if they want to secure the customer's trust. And so tech and data could be weaponized in the form of deep fakes and disinformation. And many governments are funding academic research in this space to look into how the growing threat of automated disinformation attack. So I would say that from the youth perspective, there's a lot that is in place to look into data governance and different aspects of it. And then the other one is around the risk of digital divide. Capacity building is important, especially during COVID-19, where we need to look into digital connectivity, what is keeping people and governments that are all connected, yet half the world's population is still not is not adequately connected with digital means and connectivity. And so we need to look into how we can include women and girls who are still left out of the fastest growing and highest paying jobs in the tech revolution. So it is important for a digital talent program to be inclusive of all communities in any given country. So I would also emphasize that the concept of having a new generation of cyber diplomats to forge an alliance of digital diplomacy for the young leaders to establish new social contract that will create an inclusive and equitable future for all.
Great insights, Leslie. Digital connectivity and like prevent digital divide. And again, cyber diplomats. I love that term because there's a term in Indonesia before that your lips is your sword, but right now I think it's not lips anymore. It's your thumbs that is your sword. And thank you, Leslie, for your insightful presentation. And again, delegates, if you have questions, please think about it. And like, I will make sure you can type it down on the chat box as well, so we can go through it as the presentation progress. And up next, we have heard from the G20 context and the global context. We now would like to deep dive into the Indonesian context. I would like to welcome Pak Setiaji, the Chief of Digital Transformation Office at the Ministry of Health, to present the use cases from the healthcare sector. Pak Setiaji, the screen is yours. And committee, please unmute and share the screen as well for Pak Setiaji. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Good evening, all the speakers, delegates, and participants. It's great to be able to share and discuss tonight. Yeah. First of all, maybe please run my slide. Yeah. I'd like to introduce first myself, yeah, as introduced by moderators. My name is Setiaji, currently as the Chief of the Digital Transformation Office at MOH. Previously, I had handled digital transformation in the different levels and characteristics in Jakarta and West Java. Actually, in Indonesia, we already started to set up the digital teams, like in the UK and also in the USA. In Jakarta, we already set up the Jakarta Smart City and the West Java Digital Services. And now, in Ministry of Health, we already set up the new teams Digital Transformation Office. Yeah, sorry. For my slide, can share? Yeah. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah, this is what I had handled, yeah, from Jakarta and then into the national level. Next slide, please. Yeah, now I will share how the MOH use the digital tools to help manage pandemics and also our plans to transform digital healthcare in Indonesia. Next slide, please. Yeah, in implementing every policy related to handling the COVID-19 pandemics, the governments conduct various database analysis from the integrated technology ecosystems. The MOH has used the integrated COVID-19 big data system to assess the COVID-19 situations at the city level and districts, provincial level. The data is open to the public for transparency and accountability. Some examples of database policies for handling the COVID-19 pandemics are the COVID-19 situation assessment and the COVID-19 vaccination data, and then also the comorbid data in Peduli Lindungi application is used to as a determinant of positive patients to be recommended to be self-quarantined and referred to health facility. And then the last hospital oxygen availability data is used as a reference for the distribution of oxygen to hospitals. Next slide. Yeah, we use the information technology to do COVID-19 testing, tracing, treatment, or maybe we know that the 3T and vaccination strategy and all integrated into the Peduli Lindungi application. This is a super app application used by the Indonesian citizens. The app has more than 93 million registered users, more than 35% of the total population in Indonesia, and 8 million daily active users. The Peduli Lindungi itself has many features, not only to integrated the vaccine certificate and the test lab, and also used for the testing. Next slide, please. For COVID-19 testing, yeah, this is the ecosystem of the Peduli Lindungi. Yeah, we already integrated more than 10,000 lab, and then integrated not only the lab but also the hospital. And the other thing, we integrated not only for the application for the healthcare, but also the others application like e-money and etc. For COVID-19 testing, we built a new all record database as an integrated system to record the COVID-19 test result and connect it with the national civil registration system. We want to ensure that all the COVID-19 data become interoperably resource and individual based. On average, more than 400 samples are recorded daily and connected to various public service in real time. The system will apply to other diseases such as TB, malaria, HIV, and other the next few months. For COVID-19 tracing, we built a contact tracing app named Silacak and work together with hacker workers, military, and police officers, also volunteers for the implementations. This innovation succeeds in increasing the tracing ratio up to 10 times in less than 6 weeks. For COVID-19 treatment, we launched a telemedicine services for COVID-19 patients who are self-isolating at home. We collaborated with 17 telemedicine startup companies and WhatsApp to provide automated WhatsApp messages for free teleconsultation and pharmacy deliveries. This service will expand for various diseases to improve health level and equity in all provinces. Another aspect that is also important is vaccination. Information technology has an essential role in supporting the vaccination program to be more efficient and equally distributed. We built end-to-end vaccination information management system to manage all the data and information from production to distribution of vaccines. Every day, more than 1 million people are recorded to have received a COVID-19 vaccine in the system. And in the future, the system will be used for the other vaccinations such as polio, BCG, hepatitis, and others. Next slide, please. Yeah, and then the next, I will share the future digital healthcare trends, challenges, and opportunities. Next slide, please. Yeah, Indonesia has more than 270 million people spread across an archipelago of over 17,000 islands that faces a range of challenges in healthcare delivery and access. Indonesia has a huge potential with 202.6 million internet users and still growing, more than 16% increasing smartphone users, has 44 billion growing internet economy in ASEAN. I think this is the largest and fastest, and expected 16% digital healthcare revenue growth in 2022. Indonesia produces a big health data every day. Thousands of medical record data, drug logistic data, patient prescription produced every day, which is accumulated, can be petabytes in size. However, not all the data is integrated and digitally recorded. There is still a lot of data in the form of manual notes on paper. And the other thing, Indonesia has only 500 hospitals with 1.2 beds per 1,000 populations, and also have 0.38 doctors per 1,000 populations. Compared to the WHO recommendation, yeah, I think this is a smallest in the, if we can compare in other countries in Southeast Asia. Next slide, please. Yeah, learning from the COVID-19 pandemics, with less and less mobility, the development of technology and automation will be accelerated to be able to continue to connect every human activity, likewise in the healthcare sector. Moreover, coupled with the conditions and challenges of health in Indonesia, which increasingly shows that technology is the answer. The future of healthcare is sure to bring even greater advancement, further simplify healthcare for both patients, medical professions, and also governments. The integrated care will help physician, primary care, and hospital staff perform their duties comfortably in intelligence. So in the future, we will connect every life of human life in order to increasing revenue effort in order to realize the digital transformation, a better health based on the values of care. Next slide, please. We've launched the digital transformation strategy to 2024. Next slide, please. to answer problems, potential and challenges of Indonesia digital transformation, so as to provide solutions that are comprehensive, implementable, and measurable in developing sustainability health services. We have developed a digital transformation strategy that focuses on health ecosystem, service efficiency, data integration for data provision, for the data-driven policy, including the development of the biotechnology ecosystem for precise medicine. We are visioning that a robust digital health system can enable efficient and equitable access to healthcare service across regions of Indonesia. Next slide, please. Currently, MOS are also developing the Indonesia Health Services. Next slide, please. We call the Indonesia Health Services. Next slide. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, this is our platform. Through a platform as a service approach, like the UK have NIS or the spine. The Iis Platform is a platform that provides a data connectivity, analysis, and services to support and integrated various digital health services in Indonesia. Iis is expected to be a connecting platform between various applications, various health industry actors, so that the process of digitalizing health services is easier and the governance of existing health application is more efficient, standardized, and integrated. Next slide. We also transform Peduli Lindungi to be a health super app for Indonesian citizens as integrated platform that stores complete personal health data for all Indonesian people. Users can access their personal health reports and get personalized recommendations to maintain optimal health, not only from the physically hospital, but also from the virtual hospital like telemedicine, and also will be connected within the wearable device and etc. Next slide, please. Yeah, and the last slide, I will inform you about the concern about the privacy, especially the protection of their personal information, because many sensitive data when we talk about the health data. Next slide. To ensure that a system has a reliable security, the Minister of Health will take various measures here. Next slide. The first, of course, is how to ensure security by design. This means that in the system development or when programming, the process is carried out with safe and documented procedures such as using repositories, implementing change management documentations, and so on. We use reference to security standards such as ISO 27001 related to information security management systems and ISO 27018 related to privacy security and ISO 27799 related to health information security management and also ISO 27017 related to cloud security. In terms of infrastructure as well, we ensure the data storage is carried out by implementing change management. Yeah, we with the BSSN and also with the Ministry of ICT to make sure the data itself is the data when we store in the Peduli Lindungi or our system is safe and easier to trace, track, provide warnings, and in order to facilitate a new life order in a new normal. Next slide. Yeah, and then the last thing is actually when we talk about the digital, the government cannot run by itself. So we need the more collaborations within the private sectors, academici, and etc. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, this is our ecosystems. Yeah, we need to collaborate not only for the university, the private sector, startup, and also medical device and etc. Yeah, we call hexahelix. Yeah. Next slide, please. Yeah, and then last month we have make like acceleration for the startup. We call the Health Innovation Sprint Accelerator. From a total of 105 registration, 15 innovators were selected until finally the 5 best teams, mostly young people, were selected to showcase their innovative products on a demo day. This is a form of real collaboration as an effort to accommodate innovation downstream products that are being developed to the community and health facility. Yeah, the Ministry of Health is committed to supporting the development of health innovation in Indonesia. We need more innovation from the youth. Yeah, maybe it's coming from the audience today, who will be involved in the Indonesian health innovation ecosystem and work closely together in the effort to solve various kinds of health problems in Indonesia. Let's create more research and products as well as collaboration in the health sector so that we can produce more precise, personalized, and up-to-date innovation for better Indonesia healthcare. Yeah, I think this is the last part. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Pak Setiaji, for your insightful insights. A lot of food for thoughts there and use cases from Indonesia that I believe applicable not only here, but also for other emerging countries and also developed countries as well. Because we are trying our best to reform the digital governance in the public sector. Thank you for the use case. So next, we have heard cases from Indonesia. Now we want to hear the cases from developed countries. And right now we want to listen from Mr. Angus Berry. He is the Digital Product Manager of the Government Digital Service in the UK. And Mr. Angus, the screen is yours.
Thanks. If you get the slides up, I'll go quite quickly through my slides. It'd be great to leave some time for questions at the end. But yes, I was a digital product manager. I've just moved roles, but I'm speaking, I suppose, as that. So I wanted to talk about three things. So just one case study from our experience, gov.uk. I don't want to tell a whole story. I think gov.uk illustrates the key points. And then I wanted to talk a bit about the question about the difference between emerging and developed countries in terms of digital transformation. I don't think there are actually that many differences in the basic principles. So I'll talk about what I think those are. And then I was asked to think about what you should ask for in terms of digital from government. So I'll come up with some ideas on that. Then next slide, please. So I want to speak about gov.uk because I think it encapsulates a lot about our experience and what we learned with digital transformation about what's important. So back about 10 years ago, we had got very excited about digitally transforming our digital services. And that basically meant that everyone built a website. And the result of that was we had about 3,000 public sector websites, of which that is just a selection. Because everyone wanted to do digital transformation, it was the important thing. But that wasn't particularly helpful because it was very confusing for people. They didn't know where to go to access the service they needed. And it was also incredibly expensive and inefficient. You know, you're building the same things for different websites multiple times. And a lot of the costs from digital products comes after you've built them. It's not like a bridge where you built it and that's the end. A digital product is very different. You know, you build it and that's maybe half the cost, but it's the ongoing maintenance, security, and ongoing improvements to the website, which really costs money and time. And so we built all these websites, but didn't have the people to or money to keep on iterating them. Next slide, please. And some of them were really bad, or I suppose of their time. This was our Treasury website at the time. Obviously not something we would, which meets modern design standards. Next slide, please. So gov.uk was the idea that we brought all these websites into a single domain. So yeah, it started with 2,000, well over 3,000 by the end. So a big simplification. And I think it was important because gov.uk showed that digital transformation isn't about building lots and lots of digital services. It's about doing something early. So gov.uk came in quite quickly and then was iterated. You know, we're still working, it's a live product 10 years later. I think it was a real lesson in how digital transformation is about getting started, prototyping and building something early and learning that way, rather than spending a long time building a digital strategy about how, you know, we should build a website like gov.uk. Next slide, please. It also brought in a lot of consistency in things like design, in terms of how the software was coded, and increasingly how the data is treated. So we use a design system to make sure that even if every department still builds their own digital services and maintain their own content on gov.uk, for me as a citizen accessing the website, I wouldn't know where that content came from. You know, it's all one government website. Next slide, please. So if you look at 4 different services, each of these services are built by a totally different department, totally different teams, but because they use the same template code, template design, they have a consistent experience of going to the gov.uk website. Next slide, please. In 2 or 3 sentences, what came next? Departments built their own very good digital teams. And so GDS increasingly didn't need to go and work with them on developing their own digital services. Instead, GDS has increasingly focused on solving common problems once. So for example, building a notifications platform. So if I'm building a new digital service, I don't have to code a way for me to send emails or texts. There's a simple API, I can connect to it within an hour, and then I can send out as many messages as I like to my users. Likewise, taking payments, likewise verifying identity, likewise connecting to cloud services. I think what we haven't done, or are now beginning to do, is a real focus on data, which I'll talk a bit about later, and looking at internal government tooling. So there's a real focus on citizen-facing digital services. Maybe we didn't make quite as much progress as we should on the tools which civil servants themselves use. Next slide, please. So after I'd worked at GDS for a bit, I worked with a lot of other countries, Indonesia, for example, others in Southeast Asia, lots of different countries, mostly emerging economies. And a lot of the lessons and a lot of the principles are very similar to our experience. You know, I'm sure there's differences in context, and I don't want to say everything should be boilerplate, but there are some common themes I think every country has had quite a similar experience on. So firstly, building digital services according to user research. So not setting all your technical specifications for what you want to build up front, but having a more iterative approach where you test prototypes with users and develop them accordingly, using open technologies. So there's so much great open source stuff out there. The first question when you build a good digital product would be, has someone already solved this problem? Can I build off what they've built? And also, I should also make mine open source so other people can use what we built. So for example, the design system I mentioned, that's totally open source. And you know, if you look at some governments around the world, their websites look suspiciously similar to gov.uk, which is a great compliment. Secondly, cloud strategy. So in our experience, and in most countries we've worked in, public cloud is easily secure enough for the vast majority of government data. Thirdly, having a user interface which is simple, consistent, intuitive, and accessible is important wherever you are. You know, people talk about when we were in Indonesia, for example, people often said, "Oh yes, but our internet connections aren't very good in certain rural areas." But we face the same things in the UK. Rural connections here are also far slower than in cities. So if you build your services well, they'll work with assisted technologies. They'll be accessible with poor internet connections. And they'll be intuitive for people to use. And then just data, and this is something we're probably coming to too late, but data should be machine readable, it should use identifiers, it should be shareable via APIs, and you should decide what data standards you're using, preferably open data standards. So for example, in procurement data, use the open contracting data standard. It's really good, and you don't have to build your own one. Mobile applications is a big question mark for us. For a long time, we didn't work on mobile apps. We thought the web applications were suitable for almost everything. We're doing a little bit of a U-turn on that, and we think that mobile applications might be useful at a certain stage of development, and especially in terms of verifying identity, digital identity. And then 4 big things advised against: anything to do with blockchain, most things to do with AI and big data, not because AI and big data isn't cool, but because usually you don't have enough good quality machine readable data to do it. So do that first, come to the exciting applications later. Large, long contracts to big tech companies is probably generally a big no, and led to a lot of problems. When we did it, it just means that they probably own your data. All your systems are integrated with their systems, so even if they perform badly, then it's difficult to extricate yourself from those contracts. And also, it just leads to an uncompetitive market for suppliers of digital and tech. You know, if you've got multiple bidders bidding for your digital and technology contracts, you save about 20%. Third, I've already covered. You know, digital transformation isn't about building lots of stuff. It's about building the right stuff and keeping it simple and accessible. And then fourth, don't leave your data till later. It gets more and more painful the longer you go without data standards and machine readable data. Next slide, please. These are often, I think, the three things we've heard quite a lot in terms of why digital transformation happen later. It costs too much, to which, you know, the answer is it saves a huge amount of money in most circumstances, especially if you're replacing something. So if you're replacing face-to-face interactions or people having to send letters and documents, that's far more expensive than a digital interaction by an order of magnitude. Second, there aren't digital skills in this country to do digital transformation. Every country we've been to, that isn't true. You know, we've found really good digital professionals in every emerging economy we've worked in. They don't always want to work with government because government might not speak their language, or government might not have looked to them properly, but it's not an excuse, in my opinion. I think everywhere we've been, and certainly in Indonesia, there is a really vibrant private sector which has these digital skills. It's about how to attract them to work in government. And then the most common one, you know, we'll get to digital, but first of all, we need to write our strategy. And the answer is simply don't, you know, give your best shot, start prototyping and build something. Next slide, please. Just do one. What's that, sorry, last minute, yes. Next slide, please. Yeah. I'll just go through these very, very quickly. So recommendations, what you should demand, they should demand the data itself. You know, I think often in government, we like to push out dashboards and things like that. If you have the digital skills to use data, so give them the raw data, and then they can make the dashboards and do the analytics. Next slide, please. This was just an example of what someone did with open parliamentary data. So, you know, I can look up how my MP voted in Parliament and see whether I want to vote for him or her next time. Next slide, please. We should have proper career pathways so that people with digital skills who are young don't just have IT as an option. They can be a designer, a user researcher, software developer, whatever. Next slide, please. And then lastly, we should support startups and innovation and grow the tech sector through that. And those were my three ideas. Thanks, Tommy.
Thank you so much, Pak Agus, for your insights. And I think like we can really see how you try the best to make public sector digital product more relevant for youths, very accessible, simple, and also intuitive as well. And there are a lot of great strategies that could be implemented globally from that insights. And we hope more youths will join the public sectors. And yes, next, we will have our last screen to, we have talked about how the cases are globally in Indonesia and like in the UK. And now I want to bring it back to the G20 table. So we would like to welcome Bapak Bonifasius Wahyu Pujianto. He is currently at the Ministry of Communication and Informatics of Indonesia, and he is the one in charge of the digital transformation working group in the G20. So without further ado, Pak Boni, the screen is yours.
Thank you so much, Tommy, for your time. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished speaker, participant. So let me begin by extending my appreciation to the organizer, the Y20 2022, who already been held this event. So the theme of the talk show on the promoting youth inclusion and innovation in digital government. This is very related to our issue in the digital economy working group. So, distinguished speaker, ladies and gentlemen, we are all aware that technology runs our life these days, and many people cannot imagine a life without it. As the pandemic accelerates the pace of fourth industrial revolution, the internet has been championed as the remedy of our constrained mobility. So just a new and astonishing digital technology have speed learning and knowledge for many. But lack of access and adapted of this technology have left many more behind. So digital inequality also been an issue nowadays and becoming an evidence in many sectors. It becomes relevant when we must address the prevalence of technology disparities by constructing a more resilient infrastructure, at least to establish a meaningful connectivity for all. And moreover, also enabling a better governance of internet and also inclusive, empowering, as well as sustainable. So on this note, the government of Indonesia has been concentrating its effort to accelerate the digital transformation of our vast archipelagic nation through the implementation of roadmap on digital Indonesia 2021-2024. So this roadmap provide like a strategic guidance for the Indonesian government to transform into a fully connected digital nation through 4 pillars, namely digital infrastructure, digital government, the third is digital economy, and fourth is digital society. So as you know well, the leading sector of digital transformation is the Ministry of Communication and Informatics. So we persistently attempt to ensure that affordable internet access is available to all citizens throughout the deployment of 4G BTS. This is in more than 12,500 villages. This is the rural area, the villages that it is necessary to be connected very soon. To combine this BTS system, we also want to launch the high throughput satellite. We call it Satria-1, and also the hot backup satellite, which has the capacity of 150 gigabits per second in 2023. So next year we will have the Satria-1 satellite to give the access to more than 150,000 public facilities throughout the nation. So in terms of to enhance people digital readiness, the MCI has launched to equip Indonesian with not only infrastructure, but also with the soft skill capacity. We call it digital literacy and skill, from the basic digital literacy to an advanced level training of digital competency for Indonesian policymakers. So all these efforts aspire to ensure that all members of the society could gain benefit from the digital society and productively contribute to the digital economy, not only for the customers, but also as a producer, inventor, and investor. So now the MCI are currently chaired the first Digital Economy Working Group, or DEWG. So this is the elevation from Digital Economy Task Force in 2021. So we recognize that the development of technology, internet access, and creating and flow of data are this is the more stronger influenced by stakeholders. So we believe that the collaboration among stakeholders is the key to bridge the gap and address impartiality and inequality digital transformation. Maybe there is a strong request from the multi-stakeholders. So there are 3 issues that would be emphasized during the digital economy working group. First is connectivity and post-COVID recovery. Second is digital skill and digital literacy. This is very strong correlated to Y20, and then data free flow with trust, or cross-border data flow. So let me emphasize on the issue of number one, which is related to the connectivity and post-COVID. So Indonesia emphasized the dimension of which the people, digital, and it could be the impact of the post-COVID-19 also can be a part of the national system for recovery. On this note, Indonesia actually emphasized the importance, but not only connectivity, but also through development of digital infrastructure, but also human-centric approach. So in this event, on the issue number one, we prepare the collaboration, digital innovation network between the startup industry as well as the venture capital. Secondly, during the digital economy working group in priority 2, digital skill and digital literacy, this is the very important to enhance the capability of people to tackle the issue of about the skills and creating the job. So maybe as I conclude, I look forward to hearing more valuable insight and to continue to discuss and explore more collaboration with the Y20 in the theme of we can recover together and recover stronger. Thank you so much. So back to Tommy.
Thank you so much, Pak Boni. And that is how Indonesia presidency attempts to shape the digital economy concept globally through the G20 table. We wish you the best of luck, Pak Boni, to publish a meaningful ministerial declaration that could be agreed by every nation on post-COVID economy recovery and connectivity, digital skills and literacy, and cross-border data free flow with trust. And of course, I'm pretty sure the Y20 delegates hearing your invite to collaborate, like we will try to collaborate and maybe invade the digital economy working group. And now we are entering the Q&A session. Delegates, now it's time for me to shut up and time for you to ask your questions directly to the panelists. So please raise your hands and then state your name, your country, and to whom you would like to address these questions to. And considering the time, and I would like to, for those who would like to ask questions first to Mr. Angus, because he needs to leave soon, please raise your hand for your first question. I see Marcel has raised your hand from Indonesia. So Indonesia, please voice your questions. Can the committee help to unmute Marcel from Indonesia? Thank you.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me well? Perfect. Thank you to the speakers. It's such an honor and such a privilege to hear from all of you. My question, I have two, is first directed to Pak Boni. Pak Boni, thank you so much for attending. We're very, very excited as Y20 Digital Transformation Delegates to hear directly from you, the chair of the Digital Economy Working Group. And as Tommy mentioned, we're very excited to continue to work and provide our inputs and hopefully work together. It's also an honor that you've listened to us through our focus group discussions and have seen the alignment in our goals from the youth with the Digital Economy Working Group. My question is a little bit more of a understanding. We wanted to understand the third goal that you mentioned, which is data free flow between countries. Could you give us a little bit more context on the vision behind that and what sort of policies are you envisioning on that priority area? My second question is directed to Pak Setiaji from Digital Transformation Office in Kementerian Kesehatan, or the Ministry of Health. It sounded like you had some very exciting hackathons and sort of digital participation from youth. Having been here in Lombok, hearing directly from local youth, they're very eager to participate and to have more avenues of helping digitalize either both provincial government and national governments. So we wanted to hear a little bit more about what are your learnings from that youth participation? How can that be improved? And how can that model be sort of copied for other ministries as well as other parts of the Indonesian government and also other governments, so we can have a global learning as well? Thank you to both. And thank you again for all the speakers for fantastic insights.
Okay, thank you, Marcel, for giving your succinct questions. And of course, now I would like Pak Boni to first address the question and then followed by Pak Setiaji. Again, if you have other questions to the panelists, please raise your hands after this. Pak Boni, the screen is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Marcel. So the issue number 3, it is a very dynamic issue, which is related to the cross-border data flow and data flow with trust. Actually, we are looking forward to get the what we call commonalities on this issue. We believe there are so much pro and cons on this issue. However, we want to create what we call like a common understanding on the lawfulness, and then there are several issues on this, and then we creating a common understanding among nations. We haven't yet come up to the final or common understanding. Maybe during the second, third, we will conclude and creating a solid result from our digital economy working group, like a consolidation information, and then come up to the what we call like a common understanding. Let me give you later more detail about this issue whenever it is already run into the final session. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Boni, for the answer. And now, Pak Setiaji, for the hackathon, how we can try to share this idea to the global, the other governments as well. Please, committee, unmute Pak Setiaji, if you may.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, actually, this is the first hackathons. Yeah, this is the same like a hackathon, but we make this more more innovative. Yeah, because we invite not only from the academici, from the startup, and for the youth especially, to propose their ideas. Yeah, especially this is not only just ideas, but also already implemented. Yeah, in their regions. Yeah, to solve the issues in the healthcare in Indonesia. Actually, we have 9 prioritized diseases like TB, diabetes, cancer, stroke, cardiovascular, and etc. So we invite the peoples, the startup, and also the innovators to share their programs, their products, their technology, and then our teams. Yeah, actually this is coming not only from our side but also from experts. Yeah, to check. Yeah, and then to review. This is can implement or not. Yeah, someday. Yeah, sometimes the concept itself is too ambitious, not aligned within the issues, and because of that, we need to make sure the technology itself will be can implemented in the next. And then after we select it, and then we choose the best of the winners, and then after this, depend on the technology. Some of technology we use this for the sample, like the Omicrons for the region itself. We the sum of startup for the domestic can be built the reagents for the testing for the Omicrons. So we buy and then we use this technology is coming from locals. Yeah, because some technology mostly is coming from outside. So he push the startup from Indonesia to develop the technology, develop the medical equipment, etc. from Indonesia. So with this hackathon, we hope we can accelerate the startup innovators, yeah, to more growth. We provide the field from there. We provide and then we endorse this technology and this issue, and also we give some investments. Yeah, actually we encourage we collaborate with some angel investor to give them some investment. So we hope not only from fintech, yeah, become to the unicorn. So we hope from the healthcare also can be a unicorn in the futures. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pastiaji, for your answer. And of course, right now we have another 2 upcoming questions from EU and France. I would like EU to have the floor first and then followed by France. And just to remind that we will have this in the next 11 minutes for the Q&A. So please be brief in your answer and in your questions as well. EU, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Tommy, could I just get a nod that you can hear me? Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Thank you to all the panelists. My question is specifically to Angus before he runs off. I was very, very interested to hear about your side of the coin for gov.uk, because I've personally worked with Colombia on their side of integrating the UK experience. I think in the discussions we've had within our track of digital transformation, one of the big challenges is that digital transformation is such a global issue, but it manifests very differently. So when you're going into collaboration, you said in Southeast Asia for your sake, how do you make sure that when you're trying to integrate lessons from gov.uk in very, very different countries, very different cultures, that it's successful both for your project, but also for the purpose of what they're trying to fulfill? Thank you.
Great question. So I think the first is that there's so much which does read across, in terms of, you want to build a website which doesn't use a lot of data, which is intrusive, which is accessible. A lot of the accessibility needs are very similar. You almost want to get that base level of what is the same, so you can really focus on what's different. And there are definitely differences. I don't want to say it's a cookie cutter approach, but if you can get those basic things which are the same, good data standards, intuitive, accessible user interface, cloud services, things like that. The arguments and the business cases behind it all is pretty transferable almost wherever you are. So I guess my case is agree on all those things. You can talk about what's really different, and you can do some user research in the country you're in and say, okay, this is a really important context here. One of the things which came up in Indonesia, for example, is that is on the design point. So we take pride in almost how boring gov.uk is. It's all black and white. It's very kind of simple design. And that didn't really resonate with the people we were talking to in Indonesia. They just said, oh, this is boring. And, there's a lot more visual design. Not just using words to explain things, but also graphics or cartoons or whatever. So that was the difference. So once you've got past the basic principles, which is similar, then that gives you a time to make things different. Does that answer your question? Is that fair?
Jonas, do you have any follow-up questions? I'll give you 1 minute if you have.
If not, no, we can move on to me.
No, just to say, completely resonate with the user design and getting the basics right first if they're similar. But thank you, appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, now I will give the floor to France to ask your question. Please unmute, committee.
Yes, I think that you can hear me loud and clear now. Thank you, Tommy, for the moderation. Thanks to the panelists for this very insightful examples and topics. I'll be brief. I have a question for Ms. Leslie Go. I think that you raised a very interesting notion speaking about cyber diplomats. And I wanted to have your opinion and your perception, and also of the other panelists, if possible, about the level of awareness of current policymakers on digital challenges and the way or the channels that might be leveraged in order to raise more awareness and to push forward on the education level, just as it has been conducted on other topics such as the environment by the IPCC or things like this, to replicate this into the digital era and ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is a great question. In fact, there's been a lot of effort by different governments around the world, US government being one example, to raise the awareness on cybersecurity and cyber hygiene at all levels. NIST also published some of the basic understanding of what are the areas that we need to really focus on. And I also am very aware of how organizations, even within the World Bank, we talk about cyber security, awareness, and basic things that everyone can do to make sure that we practice good digital computing in our day-to-day lives, and because there's been a step up in all kinds of cyber attacks and spams and also phishing attacks. So I think cyber awareness should be a top priority in every government in today's world of high geopolitical concerns and also various areas. During COVID, there are many countries who fall victims to cyber attack, and where there is a possibility to strengthen these kind of capabilities at all levels, whether it's government or private sector, individual levels. Many regional efforts, such as the Interpol and ASEAN, have been promoting knowledge exchange and collaboration in the interest of looking at cybercrime and strengthening cooperation at the regional level, and also fostering good cyber hygiene and safer cyberspace computing. So I think those are the efforts I would like to highlight. And also, recently, I found out that the Asia Pacific Privacy Authorities are hosting this Privacy Awareness Week in May 2nd to 8th. That's something that I would highlight for all of you who are interested, for the youth to participate, because I think it's very important for everyone to build some basic knowledge of cybersecurity, data protection, data privacy area, and also encourage policymakers to bring forward more of that good practices from different parts of the world and create that useful and also practical areas that everyone should have a way to contribute. Thank you so much for the question.
Great answers, and of course, great questions from all the delegates. With that, I would like to close the Q&A session, and we've learned tons about how important it is just to share our knowledge between one another to make sure that the digital governance that we are about to build is actually something impactful and accessible for all. Since we're almost out of time, now I would like to give each of the panelists just 30 seconds to conclude their main thoughts and main message that you would like our participants here, the Y20 delegates, to take away from today's discussion. I will go by the order that we start our session. So first, I will start with Ibu Leslie. Your 30 seconds starts now.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to bring forward a very important topic. And it is not just about technology alone. It is about a good balance of human and technology coming together to create that regulatory reforms and framework that creates that enabling environment for public and private sector partnership to develop the digital talent of the workforce of the future. And the youth empowerment should be at the heart of all policymakers as we pave the way towards the recovery and create a more balanced and equitable future for all. So all the best to you and to our great events coming up. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your great support, Ibu Leslie, from all your endeavors for the youths. And now I would like to give the floor to Pak Setiaji for your concluding remarks.
Okay, first of all, I would like to thank for this opportunity to share and discuss from our delegates. And talking about the digital transformations, actually this is needs sustainability, and also needs big collaboration within the privacy and also some government, etc. So our ministry are open for collaborate. So please share your idea and give your idea to give the best support to our governments. We hope within the collaborations can be have some great idea to make our healthcare in Indonesia more efficient and more effective. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Setiaji. Unfortunately, I think Mr. Angus has left the Zoom because of another meeting. So I will just give the floor to Pak Boni now for your last concluding remark.
So thank you so much for this event, Y20. So I would like to emphasize the collaboration between the Y20 and Digital Economy Working Group, particularly on the cross-border data flow and data free flow with trust, and then digital skill and digital literacy, because we know exactly this is the most powerful issues that can eliminate a lot of obstacles that hinder the value of digital transformation. Lastly is post-COVID-19 recovery and connectivity, where the industry, which is the startup industry, as well as venture capital and all these stakeholders are working together, at least to create a new economic power by mostly from the youth to create a new and better world. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pak Boni, for your last concluding remark. Now, I would like to thank you all. From the start, we have our keynote speaker, Ibu Mutia, Ibu Leslie, Pak Setiaji, Mr. Angus, and Pak Boni for your time and joining us to share with the delegates all of your insights on digital transformation issue. And of course, I would like to also thank you, our delegates. You've been a great participants, and I'm excited for how you're going to bring this idea forward to your Y20 Communicate discussion. We hope that today's event has elevated our shared knowledge on the challenges and complexities of digital transformation. And this is going to be food for thought that we will always have in our next policy discussions moving forward. So I am Tommy Aditya. Thank you so much for having me to moderate the second pre-summit Y20 Indonesia 2022. And for all the participants, we can just give a last round of applause to all the delegates and the participants and the panelists as well. And now we would like to ask the participants to stay at the Zoom and to carry on to the next session. And I will go back to you, Nitya.
Thank you so much, Tommy. Such an impressive discussion today. I'm very impressive and I'm very excited about this. So Tommy, I couldn't agree more when one of the speakers said that it is not only about the technology and innovation, it's also about the youth empowerment and of course the collaboration. So ladies and gentlemen, all the distinguished guests, all the speakers, I would like to thank to you, Tommy, as a great moderator for the second talk show was amazing. And I hope that all the participants get so many insights and fruitful discussions. So distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, before we leave the next for the next sessions, let's take a group photo. Please kindly open your camera and give your brightest smile. Are you ready? Okay, so everyone, please open your camera because we're going to take group pictures together. All right, on my marks, on a count of 3, I'm gonna count. Prepare yourself. 3, 2, 1. Okay, once more, I'm gonna check. Okay, great smile. Once more. 3, 2, 1. You're looking great. Just 2 times more, okay? I'm gonna count on the count of 3. 3, 2, 1. Thank you so much. Do we need another pictures? I think that's all. I think everyone's looking great, and thank you for all the delegates. Thank you for those who join us through the digital platform. I hope you had a great night. I hope you had a fruitful discussion because, you know, this is very important for the youth empowerment. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank all the delegates, our moderators, all the speakers, and all of you who attend tonight virtually. We have listened to some fruitful discussions. Today's talk show has become a good start for a more conducive and effective discussions in the futures, of course. And therefore, on behalf of the Y20 co-chairs and the organizing committee from Indonesian Youth Diplomacy, we thank you all for attending the second talk show of the second pre-summit Y20 Indonesia 2022 Digital Transformation. It has been a wonderful, productive night. I would like to say on behalf of the committee, thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Sampai jumpa. Salam dari Lombok.